Brother, how are you?
That's good, man. How you doing?
You know, in the house, done
Yeah,
for the day. Let
yeah,
me.
man. Everybody's locked in right now, man.
Yeah.
All
About
right, man. For our audience, man, I want to go ahead and introduce my man Coop, man, one of the writers for Recording Hip Hop. He did the incredible editorial on the J Electronica album, the review. And it's one of those albums that came out of nowhere. We didn't think it was actually going to happen. It actually happened, and then we got a surprise, and it was a duo album with him and Jay-Z of all people.
I was
Um,
surprised.
I mean, surprise, surprise, right? I mean, they were kind of dropping little clues here and there before the album dropped. They had both of them in the studio. Um, I think there was a tweet or something that was kind of cryptic where it made it seem like they had a song together, but not a whole project.
See, I had heard that they had a song together, but I mean, you have to think like after the intro, the album actually starts off with Jay, and it's an incredible verse. So it kind of like the album starts off kind of throwing you for a loop because it's like you're hearing Jay, and it's this incredible verse, and so you're like, okay, Jay's starting off the album, and it kind of sets up the expectation like you still think you're hearing Electronica's album, and then it starts unfolding real fast. You're like, hold on, like Jay's part of this project, like a main part. And it's like, whoa, like you really didn't see that coming. And I think there's levels to how that happened because it's like I said in the article, I think it's like really big business to put Jay on the album from Electronica's perspective, just in terms of moving the meter for people who don't know who he is, because I'm kind of like you. I kind of got detox level with it. It's like, this isn't coming out, and he's just gonna end up doing beats for cats and put on a verse here and there. So I think Jay.
Well, for the hold on 1 second. For the sake of the conversation, let's call Jay-Z something else, so it's not confusing.
We
You
don't.
know
Yeah.
what I mean?
See, I'd rather say Electronica than say Hove, but we can say Hove. I mean, whatever.
All right. So for the sake of the conversation, what are we calling Jay-Z and what are we calling Jay Electronica?
I'm gonna say Electronica.
Okay. All right.
That'll work.
Well, I'm gonna call him Jigga for.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll call him
Like,
Electronica too, just so we can stay on uniform.
Names. You know what I'm saying? Like, I call him Jay, I call him Puff. Those are my names for him.
Okay. Because this is a J and J project. I just don't want people to get confused on who we're talking about.
No, that's funny. I had to actually think about that when I was actually writing this too. I had to make sure, like when I was saying Jay, I said like Jay-Z, and if I said like Jay Electron, I had to make sure and like parse that out because it was confusing me while I was writing it.
Well, let me go down the whole line of what you actually rated the album, because some people, this is one of those weird albums where it was like people really either loved it or really hated it, and I think it was really no in between. People thought it was either brilliant or some people were just let down, and I don't know if that's a generational thing or what, but it was one of those albums where it was either you high on it or super low on it. And so you gave it the beats 9.5, you gave the rhymes 10, you gave life 9. So basically, this project you gave a 9 out of 10 in the review. Some people felt like that was a bit high. Where were you coming from with it?
I mean, we can break it down like starting with the beats. Like beat wise,
Okay.
I thought track wise. See, what I'm always looking for, and when I listen to an album, is not necessarily how great the beat is, like necessarily by themselves. And I think hip hop has kind of gotten more centered on the track itself just sounding great than how a track fits and molds to an artist. The tracks that I was listening to on that album, they fit what Jay Electronica was trying to do. So that's part of the process for me when I'm grading the beat so high. I'm not just looking at like, oh, is this a beat a banger? Or can I ride my whip to this beat? I'm listening to the track and I'm like, how does this track acoustically, like with what they're doing with the bass, the snares, the hi-hats, how does this blend and bleed well with the artist's voice, And just real quick, just to talk about it, part of what I was really impressed by this project overall was the way that Jay-Z actually played the back, kind of just stepped in and filled what other gaps need to be filled on the album, because it's like beat-wise, I feel like it fits Electronica better, but it's kind of a testament to Jay's greatness that he can literally like jump on anything at any given time and do what he does. I actually think this is one of the better performances he's had on the mic in about a decade. If we're just talking about like what he's spitting, yeah.
But that kind of fits into that notion where on the show yesterday, with Safola, we were talking about this project, and we were talking about how it came together, and it feels like the guy who works really fast, who is Jay-Z in this marriage, it sounded like, you know, there were probably a lot of incomplete records, and they brought Jigga to come in and finish up the project. So it sounds like you kind of feel that same way.
I was going to say, after listening to it more and even like sitting on it for a week and coming back to it, I kind of felt like Jay kind of did what 50 did for Game with the documentary. It's like you got somebody who's gifted, got talent, the tracks are there, the buzz is kind of still there. It's just some of the gaps need to be filled. And he came in like a pro's pro and helped fill the gaps. And that's not to say that Electronica is not great at what he does, but you know, like one of the reasons why I graded the Life like a 9, it's like, yeah, what you saying is solid, but it's like, your lifestyle has to match what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? And he's had a problem in terms of consistency and in terms of putting out work. So it's like, you know, you say what you say, but it's like I always tell people, part of why the project sounds so great because he hasn't done much work as other people. He's had time to craft these verses, take his time, put stuff together. He's not putting stuff out like at a clip Lil Wayne was at his peak. He's actually doing the opposite. This record should sound great. Like, it better sound great. It's been a decade.
Well,
like,
with that being said,
think about this. Like people heard Nas on Live at the Barbecue in 91. Illmatic was out in 94. It's like we heard him in like 2009. It's 2020. We're just now hearing him. It's like, you better be saying some fly shit.
But they got Shiny Suit Theory on there too, and that's 10 years old. Like, what do you think about that? Like, it feels like, what do you say to the people that feel like this record, God bless too, everybody in here. Shout out to everybody in the room, man. Just for people who are just now jumping in, we're recapping the Jay Electronica and Jay-Z album. My man Coop right here did the album review on it. He gave it a 9 out of 10, so we're just going through all that. Let us know what you think about the album too. But yeah, for the people who say that the record, the album in itself was just too short based on the fact we were waiting 11 years for this man's debut album, like, what do you say to that?
I would agree with that sentiment, actually. If I have one complaint, is that the main complaint would probably be he's supposedly great enough that this project feels short in terms of what we hear from him, because he's got Jay right next to him on it almost on every track. So even though we got an album worth of material, we didn't get an album worth of verses out of him. Like, no. Still. So it would have been nice if he was going to have Jay on this album through all the way through fluidly like he did, if it would have been like a 16 or 17 track album. Like, I have no problem with that. One of the things that I wrote, I said, it's really dense and really brilliant. Like, it's very compacted and it happens fast, you know? And so, you know, one of the things that he did was kind of an intelligent play, is that he didn't leave you much room to critique him. Most of his bars are stellar. It's like, if they don't seem stellar, they don't seem stellar because he's standing next to a guy that a lot of people think is the best who ever did it. It's like, how many people, like, think about this. How many people can literally say, like, yeah, I stood, like, track to track next to Jay-Z, like, on an album, like, through it, like,
I mean, how many people could say that they actually did an album with Jay-Z for their debut album?
No, I mean, how many people are capable of spitting with him on a consistent basis is what I'm saying.
That's true.
Like, we're really going to talk that talk. You know what I'm saying?
And it makes you think, too. I was going to say, I'm sorry. It makes you think, too, like, why did Jay-Z choose Jay Electronica to jump on a collaborative album with at this time? And especially with the man's debut, because we already know Jay's not going to go out there and do anything that's just going to pump up somebody else who hasn't proven anything. Like, they must be either real cool.
I'm glad that you asked that, because it's like one of the biggest problems that I've heard, because, you know, I'll go back and read everybody's comments and stuff about other people's articles and about mine. And it's like, one of the main critiques on this album has been, A, Jay's on this album. 2, they feel like Jay is outspitting Electronica on the album. And 3, you know, Jay spinning, you know, Islamic phraseology on the album. They're like, you know, who's this dude? That's the dude that made the Blueprint reasonable out. And it's like, I don't think people understand. It's like, no, that guy's dead. This guy's 50. He might have some faith. Like, we don't know. Like, this might be his first time expressing some of those ideologies for the first time. This isn't Jay-Z the hustler. This is Jay-Z the father, the businessman. He might go to church. He might have a
well, let's look at that, though.
Like we don't know. Like we don't know.
like you said.
Think about who you were 10 years ago. Would you want somebody holding you accountable for who you were 10 years ago as a man? Like, especially when you're in the spotlight like he is. So it's like, I hear what people are saying and be like, they may not want to hear that come from Jay, but it's like, hey, do you know where Jay is? Like, you may not know where your best friend is with their faith right now. So it's like, it's a little unfair when we're talking about like matters in terms of bars and when religious context starts getting into play. Like, we have to be careful about how we're treating people, you know?
Right. And I think that
somebody's beliefs in the process, you know, and that gets into the whole thing with him and what's his name, who you know, who did Electronica get into it with about the whole synagogue and Satan comment?
Oh, you talking about Rosenberg, Peter Rosenberg?
Yeah, the culture vulture. Yeah, the vulture. Yeah. You know, but just him saying something lets you know that when it comes to talking about the subject matter on this album, people take it seriously, you know. So don't like discount Jay.
Right.
Like, that's not our place. Like,
you're right. And you know,
we're here to review the music and the quality of the bars. Like, you want to get into who he is as a man, like, you do that like on your own time. We talking about the quality of music. The bars were great.
Well, you know what? We seem to only do that with Jay, right? It seems like we find different ways to try to critique Jay throughout his career because it's like he's one of those guys where it's not a lot of chinks in his armor. So anything that we can find, we nitpick on this guy. Like, I remember him talking about, I guess when he was an interview some years back, and basically the whole thing was like somebody said the Volume 3 was his weak album or was a whack album. I say it like that, and then you know he was going, and that was one of his homies that said this, right? And so he was like, I think it was OG1 or whatever that said that. And Jay was like, well, you like Big Pimpin', right? He's like, yeah. Like, you like So Ghetto, right? I'm like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you like Do It Again, right? You like Snoopy Track.
Yeah,
it's like, and he said, you know, people rate me on a different level. And I get it. When you set a certain standard, whether it's reasonable doubt, and I think a lot of us kind of fell into Jay as fans as Jay-Z the Hustler, and we want to hear that kind of talk from him. And for those people who
he started a whole nother culture when he made Reasonable Doubt. People weren't talking about the life like that, like not like that. Like, there were some guys that was doing it. Like, you got your G-Raps and your Schoolie D's and like those guys, but nobody had articulated it with such detail the way he did when he came out. It's almost like you knew what he was doing was wrong, but he made it okay. Almost like
it was the vantage point. I think he kind of
so that sticks with people. That resonates with people culturally because it's like, man, no, that's the dude that, like, you know, shifted how the talk got taught.
But you got to let people grow, right? And you know, honestly, I'm gonna keep it honest. I had a problem with that with 444. I really wasn't that big of a fan of it. A lot of people love the album, and I think it's mostly because Jay. I like hearing Confident Jay. You know what I'm saying? Like,
people like that album because it's Jay. There's no other reason to really like that album. There's nothing really about production. Like, people like that album because it's Jay. Like, it's cool. It's like Hall Pass. It's like, yeah, he made an album. Like, the subject matter was solid. The beats were solid. It's like, oh, I like it. It's like, not so much.
That's kind of how I feel, you know. And you know, again, I don't know if I'm, you know what I'm saying, a person that's stuck in listening to Jay in a certain era. I actually appreciated where he came from on the Carter's album, which I don't listen to a lot anymore. When I first heard it, it was like, this is confident, cocky Jay again. You know what I'm saying? And saying all that to say, that's probably the Jay that I like the most. I like I show you how to do this, son, Jay. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the guy I normally want to hear. So even when he does great work, I try not, you know, you try to listen to the music for what it is, like you said.
So let's take that back to the album. That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm rating the rhymes so high because it's like I'm literally listening to what he's saying, how he's saying it. The styles, like, I mean, he's going through some of his better flow patterns on this album. That's what I'm saying. It's like when you're listening to his delivery, how he's parsing the words, the nuances when he comes in, it's like he's doing some pretty incredible things on here rhyme-wise. It's like, you know, if you want to engage into a discussion about the content, that's never ending. But the flow and the delivery and what he's actually saying and the metaphor, yeah, like that's some of the better stuff he's done in a minute. And that's
what's your favorite song on the album?
Ooh, my personal favorite?
Mm-hmm.
Ezekiel's Will is my personal favorite. I
Mm.
love, I think that Electronica verse is the best verse that he did on the album. I think that, along with Jay's verse to start off the album on the Ghost of Soldier Slim, those are probably two favorite verses on the album. Like when I just looking for the bars.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the way Ezekiel's Wheel comes together because there's something about their pairing that felt organic on a lot of the tracks, but it never felt more organic like on that track. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's like kind of like you said. I literally feel like Electronica had that hook from the dream and those verses like buried somewhere. And Jay just kind of came in one day and was like, no, 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 let me kind of round that out and jump on
Right.
that and just vibe to it. And it makes a difference. And you and I have had this personal conversation before. That's what I like to call like one of those Aquemini records. Like it sounds really full and complete. Like the nuances of the record and everything comes together. It has that complete full song sound. And that's what I look for, like musically. I mean, like you and I talk personally. It's like, you know, we argue
Right.
about when we think Aquemini is the best record, like album wise, we've ever heard. And as an adult hip hop lover, that's probably the basis of albums when I'm looking for fullness of songs. And that was
Right.
on that album that really hit that mark like that for me. That and The Never Ending Story. Those two were like the records that I was like, whoa, like everything about it just kind of felt complete, impressive, great beat, great bars, content, subject matter, flow, delivery, pairing, like all that. So
I'm actually looking for like the According to Hip Hop posts where, you know what I'm saying, people were commenting on your actual review so I can get some of those comments in. But, you know, off the top though, man, quick question.
I personally commented on a lot of those already.
I'm sure you and but all right, this is what we were talking about yesterday. Me and Safola, we differ in vantage points when it comes to, or opinions rather, when it comes to how the length of what an album should be in the streaming era. I totally believe an album should be between 7 to 10 songs, and he believes that things should be a little bigger. Because we were talking about Joyner Lucas's new album.
Hold on. That's bigger. What does he mean? Hold on, Joyner Lucas's album?
Joyner, yeah, he dropped the album yesterday.
A lot of stuff already came out.
That came out Friday. 18 songs.
I've heard some of those tracks though, correct?
Yeah. So they were all made over a different period of time, and we were talking about that. So it's a full, complete effort in like a traditional sense of what a CD and skits and all that stuff are, like a Kumini, right? So that's the difference basically between a Kumini and Illmatic, right? Like
but
you give yourself.
Hold on. That's the thing about it is like, I think we have to understand like there is no difference when it comes to the completeness and the fullness of something.
You're right.
Like the depth of what Nas is saying on that album is so extreme that it's like, it maybe could have had another record or two, but I mean, that album being more than 11 tracks would have went over everybody's head. Aquemini is 16 tracks, correct? How many of those are... How many?
All right, well, let's go by minutes, right?
Hold on. So think about this. How many of those are skits? It's like 3 skits. There's a whole song where they're not even rapping. That's Liberation. There's the whole record with Goody Mob. So it's only Outkast rapping, Ray's on Skew and on the Barb. It's only them rapping on about 9 or 10 songs together.
Well, see, that goes into the whole, you know, Andre not having a lot of bars to be considered yada yada. Because really, let's keep it real. As much as I love Kumini, one of my favorite records, if not my favorite hip hop record ever, Andre has like 12 verses on there, maybe 12 to 13 verses on there. And if you're a solo artist, that's about 4 songs.
I mean, he's never done a solo record on an Outkast album. I mean, like, I feel you. Like,
he's never had a solo rap record, period.
No, A Day in the Life of Andre Benjamin is a solo record.
It's one long verse. We've never had 3 verses of Andre.
But I mean, if I'm not mistaken, that is 48 bars. So if you were to break it up, it would constitute as 3/16. But I get fundamentally what you're saying.
Because it's like, all right, let's look at, when we talk about Jay Electronica, let's look at Exhibit C. He didn't have to do any hook or anything. It's a real big difference when you do one long verse.
Look, that's how we all ended up on the hook, is because of that record.
Yeah. That's the record that started, kept the buzz, everything.
That's where the buzz comes from. That is the origin.
That is the buzz. That's a strong record. So yeah, this has your review actually has. your review has like 111 comments on According to Hip Hop. So
Run them.
one of the top comments is it's a beautiful album. The depth of the lyrics is incredible. Okay, that's a favorable comment. It's like folks be scared to step on. All right, well, this is a top commenter. It said, and you commented on this. I see. Guy said it's like folks be scared to step on veteran rappers' toes and call they bullshit albums trash.
Yeah,
but but with shit all over the youngsters, like they can't make nothing good. I don't understand some of these critics. Jay Electronica should have never put Jay-Z on this album, and for God's sake, get some better production and stop praising Allah every 5 verses. Yeah, I said it.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I said it. I woke up one morning, I read that. I thought that was hilarious. I was like, he said, yeah, I said it. I was like, yeah. Hey, you want to know what? Can you read my reply?
I will.
Yeah, read my reply, because I gave him an in-depth reply, and I asked him to articulate some things, and he didn't get back to me.
Let's see. This is James Roy, by the way. Shout out to, James Jacob. Shout out to James Jacob. And, you know what I'm saying, if you see this on the Facebook Live thread, or if you're here on the Instagram page, holla at us.
Live with us.
Yeah, definitely. All right. You said, good morning, sir. I wrote the article, and I'm not scared of a damn thing. So let's make that clear. I'm not a robot. I'm a person. So when you say folks, I wrote the article, so you're obviously addressing me. Let's clear a few things up, please. One, if you read the article all the way through, I made mention to the fact that I would have been nice. It would have been nice to hear this album without Jay-Z. I feel it's unfair to the fans to the degree, mostly to Jay Electronica himself, but I also understand the politics of the business. Two, a veteran is given reference to someone who has put in a certain level of work. Electronica has been around, but this is his debut album, and I don't think that we have heard 50 verses from him. Veteran, he is not, although he has been around. Well, you know what? I think that is confusing. I'll read the rest of it, too. We do view Jay Electronica as a veteran in the sense where, like you said, he was around.
No.
Shoot, before he's supposed to be in the class of Kendrick Cole.
Yeah,
those guys.
No, he dropped out.
What is he?
That's what I mean. I'm treating him like I haven't heard him before, really. That's why I rated it the way that I did. Because it's like when I'm looking at it, it's like I gotta go 10 years back to pull up your best shit. I want to hear what you got, like now.
I don't think we've ever seen anything like this in hip hop.
I'm treating him like he's new. Like everybody got like I said, Exhibit C is like one of the best records that I've ever heard. But I mean, we kind of got to get off of that and start like rating it for what it is. He hasn't really put in work like that. It's like, how about this? It's like, I'll tell you the difference. It's like Black Thought's only done solo EPs, but look at the amount of work and verses that he's done on Roots and on other people's projects. Even though he only has 2 EPs, he's most definitely a vet. Being around for a long time and not giving us work doesn't make you a vet.
I think that to younger people, you in your 40s, they're not going to treat you like a new rapper.
Well, what about him speaks to him being a veteran, other than like
his age? So we know age is a big thing in hip hop. You know what I mean? And if you come out the gate, you know what I'm saying, you're 40-something years old. I think he's, 44, something like that, 45?
Well,
they're not going to treat...
Is he that old? Is he that old?
I think so. Let me clarify that.
Pull that up. I thought he was like more closer to our bracket, maybe a little bit older.
Let's see. He is...
I mean, that's a little...
Yeah, he'll be 44 this year.
Okay, he's 43. So
yeah, he's 43. So he'll be 44 in September.
I mean,
so if you're 43, it's tough to.
It's funny that you bring up age, because the nuance of what age is in this game has changed too. The ageism of it changed. It used to be most of your great MCs were kind of they were prodigy like with it. So you know they got deals 16, 17, 18, 19. Like Rakim signed, graduating from high school at 17.
Yeah.
So it's funny that we're talking about the age thing, because one of the 2 people responsible for changing kind of like the age requirements to get attention is kind of Jay-Z and DMX, because Jay-Z released Reasonable Doubt. He was 27 years old. You have to remember, in
Yeah.
1996, if your debut album came out and you were 27 years old, you were old.
Old. Yeah.
Same thing.
All the rappers were 25 and under.
Same thing when DMX came out a year later with It's Dark and Hell is Hot when he was 28 years old. So they kind of reversed that trend. Like, people forget, like, DMX and Jay-Z are older than Nas and Biggie and Pac.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so it didn't affect them. So we can't, like, what I'm saying is.
But they were still in their 20s, though, Coop.
I appreciate, like, I get what you're saying, but it's like, I'm not giving out hall passes either. It's like, I don't care if he's been around 10 years, really. He's done about 30 verses. It's like, he's new.
So you're not a veteran on your...
We've heard Wayne go on 6-month binges and release more material.
Yes. But I still think he's getting a bit of a pass, too. Shout out to everybody coming in the room. Come on in. We're talking about Jay Electronica's new album with Jay-Z. A written testimony. I mean, listen, I think at the end of the day, though, I don't think we've seen anything like this before with somebody who took that much of a hiatus, a 10-year hiatus, and then finally dropped the album. And then the album was actually a duo album with a very notable MC. Is he getting a pass for that? And why didn't Jay-Z put his name on the album? Well, I mean, just in your thinking, in your just your estimation, why do you think Jay-Z didn't put his name on the album?
I mean, it's not like he needs the publicity, for one. I mean, you know, it's not like he needs the attention of the publicity. He's garnering plenty of that, like, outside endeavors that have nothing to rap at this point anyway. I mean, if anything, I respect him more as a businessman than as an MC, and that's saying a lot because I do think he's one of the greatest MCs ever. He's not number one on my list like he is like a lot of people, but I mean, I have him up pretty high. And
you got him top 3?
Huh?
You got him top 3? You got Tupac high, right? You got Tupac in your top 3.
I mean, I think what happened to Biggie and Tupac is just unfair. In Tupac's chart, he recorded a lot of material. He died when he was 25. With Biggie, it's just like Biggie only did, you know, roughly 3 albums worth of material. So it's kind of hard to gauge. But also, too, hip-hop is evolved into such a place since they've been gone that it's not fair for them as high as I used to keep them, just because it's like I can't ignore Ghostface's catalog, Scarface's catalog, Jay's catalog, Nas's catalog. Like, it's common. It's kind of unfair to those guys. So it's like, if I was just having to, like, call it right now, I mean, you know me, I mean, like, so 2 of the slots are already gone because there's Rakim, there's Nas. So it's like, when I put Jay at number 3, it's like, I don't know. Like, me personally, I don't know. Like, it's hard for me to parse it out because I personally want to say Tupac or Biggie or Scarface because I personally feel that way. But if we're just talking objectively, then yeah, I would probably say at this point, if I was just being objective about it, and if we're talking about rhyme skills, catalog, longevity, relevancy, genre-breaking albums, it's like Rakim, Nas, and Jay at this point. Yeah, because it's like Scarface and Ghostface aren't revered the way that Jay and Nas are, even though catalogs are comparable to me. And
Ghostface is my favorite rapper, right?
Ghostface might have the best catalog, like solo catalog in the history of rap. Like, most people don't even have him in the top 10.
Ghostface is my favorite rapper personally, but I will admit that where he lacks when it comes to these guys that we're talking, he doesn't have the hits that they have, and that matters.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, and you know, Nas is my guy. I be running down Nas' stuff sometimes. Nas don't have a lot of hits either.
Nas got hits though. He got more than Ghost. He got About Rules the World.
That's the whole conversation of what you want to call a hit then. Because it's like, when I look at Nas' hits, I'm like, If I Rule the World, Hate Me Now, I Can.
I'm not a huge fan of those records, honestly. But they're hits.
Those are his hit records. Those are his 3 biggest hit records though, Mike. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. If we judge a Nas based on hits, Nas isn't making top 10.
You know what I think my favorite Nas single is Made You Look.
Made You Look.
I love Made You Look. That is a perfect Nas single.
I mean, I know there are lyrics,
timeless.
There are lyrics and rhymes that he has that are better, but back to that whole Aquemini thing, if we're talking about his best records, that's the record that feels most full to me. and that feels like nasty Nas, like not like
Real.
so. That's like nasty Nas. That's the guy that got the deal. So it's like I'm with you on the whole "Made You Look" thing.
Now,
Totally.
do you
That
remember
might
when
be
he
my
made
favorite
that
Nas.
record? When he made that record on "Life Is Good," nasty, where it was kind of like he was trying to
Yeah, where he kept
revisit
on
that.
going. He was like his
That
limo in
sound,
the video.
yeah, that didn't sound as organic as "Made You Look," or "Made You Look"
No,
sounded real.
I mean, here's the thing with that record too. That's that Apache break loop. Like Nas's Pocket is doing that original hip hop stuff. Like If
Yep.
I Rule the World, that's the Curtis Blow record. Made You Look is the Apache record. That's Nas's Pocket. Like he's brilliant. It's in those organic hip hop spaces. That's why it's like a lot of the hit records he has, we don't love his hits because when he does that Made You Look thing, it's he's the best MC ever when he does that.
I
It's
say
just
that too.
done,
Yeah.
he hasn't done that enough to remove the conversation of it. But that guy's the best MC ever. It's just we haven't seen enough of that guy.
I think that there hasn't been enough direction on a producer's end. I don't even want to say production because he gets a lot of flack for his beat picking. His beat picking isn't bad. He just hasn't really been produced in a long, long time. And Illmatic was one of those times where he was actually produced. I
I mean,
think Salam Remy produced him on Godson. But after
correct.
that, man, it's like just picking beats here and there. You know what I mean?
I'm going to be honest with you. Part of the reason why I enjoyed the Nasir record is like lyrically, it's not one of his stronger efforts, but it's like somebody gave him dope beats.
Yeah.
Consistently. It's like no, I have to take that Nas record even though the depth isn't there like it is on other records.
Now, all right, we were just talking about Biggie, right? And this was a discussion yesterday I think me and Lenny had over there at High Gravity Hip Hop. Shout out to Lenny. We were talking about Biggie, and we were talking about, like, yo, what would Biggie's third album really have sounded like?
Hold on. You want to know what's so funny that we're talking about Biggie? Hold on 1 second.
Uh-huh. Hey, man.
I just pulled this like out the garage the other day. My cousin bought me this like almost 20 years ago, but it's funny we talking about Big because I just pulled my Big picture.
That's dope.
I've been pouring like everybody else, so it's spring cleaning.
In my personal opinion, I think when we're talking about skill set, voice, versatility, all that, Big stands in a whole lane of his own.
See, that's what I'm saying when you're asking me if Jay-Z is top 3. It's like, yeah, but no.
But this is the thing, though.
Because everything that you just said, like that's big. Big is that, like, how about this? Like, Nas in 94 and Biggie in 97 and Rakim in 88.
Give me 96 Nas, lyric-wise. But whatever. Anyway, this is what I was saying. What would Big's third album have sounded like? We saw things in the Bad Boy level going towards the shiny suit era, right? So would Big's third album have been more like More Money, More Problems and a lot less like Kicking the Door? You know what I'm saying? Like, we saw that's where Bad Boy was going. I mean, we don't have any proof that Big would have kind of gave us a bit of a flop of a third album, but it was kind of going in that way.
No, I mean, here's the only proof that we have, and it's still the only proof that we really have to this day. Nobody has mastered the art of making a street record and making a hit single the way the Notorious B.I.G. did.
I think Jay-Z has tried his best, but you're right. You're right.
And that's what I mean. It's like when you want to say Jay is up there, it's like, yeah, I got a catalog nod, though, because you're not better than your man's, because your man's, like, mastered this before you did, and he's younger than you.
He gave you the blueprint,
and
no pun intended, and you took it and ran with it.
I mean, and it's like I said, I love Jay, but it's like we're being honest about it. It's like, listen to Biggie. Like Hypnotize is followed by Kicking the Door. That's everything that Biggie is right there. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go make this chart-topping single, and then I'm going to go make this menacing street record right after it. Like,
I think Jay-Z, I think if we're being completely honest, I think Jay-Z could be lyrically, at any point in their careers, could have been lyrically more skilled than Biggie. What Biggie had was the flow and the voice. And lyrically, he wasn't that far behind him either.
So that's my thing.
Yeah. And so that voice and that flow allowed him to sound great over everything. I never heard Biggie not sound right on a record.
I actually agree with you. I actually do think Jay is a better lyricist than Big. Like, I do. But here's the thing about it. That is literally the only thing he is better at than Big. Not a better delivery-wise, voice-wise, storytelling-wise, putting an album together-wise. He literally just has him on the bars, and he don't got them by much.
Biggie had help with the albums. We got to give Puff credit for that.
Your rain on the top was short like leprechauns.
Puff, and you know what was so crazy about Big, man? We were hearing him getting better. Like,
that's
we heard him, like on that the Shaq record, like, You Can't Stop the Rain. Like, this dude was getting better.
Anna's.
Each record, he was getting better.
That's what I mean. Like, by the time Life After Death is ending, that's what I mean. It's like, you know, how about this? If you feel like the 96 version of Nas is like the best MC that you've heard, it's like literally a year later, Biggie put that in doubt with the way he closed out Life After Death.
And not to mention that he wrote Kim's album in that time period. I don't know how much of Puff's album he wrote.
How did that album end? My Downfall, Long Kiss Goodnight, You're Nobody Till Somebody Kills You. That's the best ending to a rap album ever.
I agree.
Ever.
I think the best outro ever is on College Dropout. But yes, I agree with that. Yeah.
With my Sycamore style.
Man, I mean, You're Nobody Till Somebody Kills You is chilling, man. Okay, so where does Jay Electronica go from here? Do you think that we're going to get a follow-up, EP ever of him actually having a solo album, or does he even need that?
I mean, I hope this propels him to at least kind of like do some work. Like, I'm not saying you got to do like I mean, I'd be happy if he did Maxwell level work at this point. Like, if you just drop every 3 to 5 years, cool with that, you know?
Okay, I know it's only April, but is this a lock for album of the year?
No.
Who you think's gonna have album of the year? I mean, we were talking about anticipated 2020 albums yesterday.
There's this guy named Kendrick Lamar whose project is supposed to drop this year, so he gets consideration above all else based on his resume the last 10 years before we go talking about album of the year before we hear his album. Like
is Kendrick Lamar top 10 now?
Huh?
Is Kendrick Lamar top 10 now? You need another album for that.
I mean, I think the next album is the discussion about, like, is he, like, really up there with Nas and Jay and Big? Like,
well, all right. Well, TDE released that tweet saying that he was going to have a rock-influenced album this time around. If he does that move the discussion one way or another? It just doesn't move the discussion at all.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to tell you how I feel about Kendrick. He's by far the best artist of this era because he is the best MC and he's made the best product. And I think the last person to do that was Big, actually, to be the best MC and provide the best product. So he's like that. And I don't think that he's like a better lyricist necessarily than Jay-Z or Nas or Rakim or Black Thought or Big Pun. I don't think he's that guy lyrically, but he's very much like Big sense that he does so things wonderfully well. Like, his storytelling skills are immaculate. His flow and delivery is constantly changing. His concepts are Nas and Andre like he's a wicked brother, dude.
His production's really good too.
I mean, here's what we need to be afraid of. He still hasn't utilized Dr. Dre production-wise yet.
I think the only time he utilized Dr. Dre was on Good Kid, Mad City, and that seemed to be more of on putting this album together, skit-wise, all that stuff. Yeah.
About tracks produced by Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
Got out the bag yet. Like, that might be the grand finale. Like, the last time we see him, maybe the only time we see him with Dre. I love the way that he's thinking, and he like what's the song on Damn Duckworth? Mm-hmm. Just the fact that he kept that in the chamber till his 4th album.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's so let's go back to the Jay Electronica thing. It's like, talent-wise, he's right here with all the guys we're talking about, except for we don't have anything to talk about other than this album, and Jay's on half of it. So that's what I mean. How can you call him a vet? His skill says he's a vet. That's where we're getting it confused.
Right. And his age, I think the age is a part of it too. Because even when he came with Exhibit C, we knew that he was a bit older than the guys that were coming up in that generation. So people kind of automatically put him with the Mos Def class. Because that's like where that's like your graduating class if they went to school together per se, right? And so, I think that, Jay Electronica's in a weird spot as far as like...
Funny, he's in a real funny pocket, Mike. He is.
He's in a real weird spot. You know what? I'm gonna say this. I really hope that Kendrick Lamar doesn't put out a rock influenced album. I need a rap album. I think hip hop needs a rap album, especially in this year of 2020, where so far it doesn't really seem like we got too much to go on.
How do you feel about this year?
So far, man, it's not a lot. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, it's been so much going on in general that, you know, I think that the focus on music just hasn't.
Absolutely.
I don't know, man. Like, all right, Eminem's album. How did you feel about Eminem's album? It really didn't have a lot of replay value, in my opinion.
Well, hold on. We're living in a culture and in a time where most of this stuff doesn't have replay value.
Right.
So it's not fair to him to say that. The biggest problem with today for me is the lack of replayability. It's
okay.
like you and I, when we talked the other day, I believe we had a whole Illmatic conversation.
Yeah.
I might go play Illmatic. I can still listen to that all the way through. Like, I'm already kind of done with Herbo's album, and I really liked it. But I'm already kind of done.
It's very tough to get an album now and really go back and just genuinely replay stuff. I was telling my guy Safola that the other day, man. It's like, you know what? It's funny, that Uzi album, right? When I heard the song Yes Sirski with 21 Savage, I played that song again. You know what? I actually put that song on replay, and that doesn't happen a lot.
Hard.
I mean, it's just
hard.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, and it's like
you and me are rare for our age bracket that we actually like show the cats like more love and give them fair listens and like go through the records. Like, dudes like, oh, they can't rap. Cool. I'm like, yeah.
It's really easy in today's time when you don't actually buy a physical copy of something. It's real easy to listen to something and not listen to it again. Like, if you bought something, you're gonna try to like it. You know what I'm saying?
I never thought of it like that. But that's
what it is.
That's very fascinating. When you invest in it, physically see what you've invested in, oh, you're going to play it.
Yeah. You remember buying a whack-ass CD and you've been like, damn, I got to like something on here.
OC, Jules.
You know what mine was? I think it was that Rough Riders Volume 2. I think it was 2. I was so hurt after I bought that. I was like, yo, I should have bought something else that I already knew was dope.
They took our money on Volume 2, that's for sure.
Yeah, man. I'd rather have bought the first one again. You know what I'm saying? Like,
first one's got some great records.
Hey, the first one has some great records. But yeah.
Solo record, X solo record, J solo record, E solo record, all of those were hits. Those 4 bangers right there.
DMX didn't even do a lot on there.
Down Bottom with Juvenile and Drag On. They was.
Now, you know what? We didn't get to this discussion yesterday, and since we're talking about album of the year, and last year's albums, in my opinion, were a little bit murky, man. What did you think was hip hop's album of the year for 2019? Because I know we gave it to The Game, Born to Rap, which was a very well put together album, and the people helped pick this too. But a lot of records on that album, I don't really listen to a lot anymore, but he kind of had an advantage because he came out in December. You know what I mean? He came out with a strong record in December, and we didn't get a chance to see if this album was going to live. You know what I mean? What do you think should have gotten album of the year for 2019?
I mean, first of all, you want to know, I would submit that you give me a list of 5 albums to choose from, and I'll tell you why that album is the best. But I want to talk about the Game thing right quick, because I'm actually one of those people that's a big fan. I was actually living in Cali, in Southern Cali, when his first album came out. So I guess I kind of caught the wave and caught the whole vibe and caught the whole feeling. I'm a big fan of his, actually. This is one of his least impressive albums to me that he just dropped, though.
The Nipsey collaboration was awesome.
So when it got album of the year, I was a little bit surprised, but I might look at it like I literally think that his first 3 projects are better, and so is Jesus Piece.
But we're not yeah. We're not judging it on his stuff. We're judging it on what came out last year.
Hold on. So I just want to finish off right quick, and I don't want to cut off. I just want to say, so when an album like that gets album of the year, and I can look at his catalog and be like, like that might be your 5th or 6th best album. That should let you know the dearth of quality and replayable material in hip hop today.
Well, I mean, 2018 was. I think everybody blew their load on 2018, and I think it left
Best rap year in a
2019
decade.
just negative.
Best rap year in a decade.
That's what happened,
Or at least,
and I don't even
it
think
was
it's
at
one
least
of
the
the.
best rap year since 2012. 2012 was the last time that like some projects came out where it was just like, oh my god.
What was 2012? What all came out in 2012?
Good Kid, Mad City, Life is Good, Jesus Peace by the Game. All of those albums came out that.
All right, let me see.
Other
Let
records.
me give
Hold
you a
on,
list.
I want to feel like the Mad Lib album, maybe. There was a whole bunch of projects that year, though. I remember it being a heavy year. That might have been the Marshall Mathers LP 2 year, too.
Now, we put Rhapsody's Eve against Born to Rap, and the people chose Born to Rap. And a lot of people feel like Rhapsody should have gotten that album of the year last year. What do you have to say about that?
I mean, I'm from Charlotte, so I'm biased. You know? But, I mean, my take on Rhapsody's album is just quite simply it's the best female rap album.
Well,
it definitely deserved album of the year. You can't show, like, you can show me females rap albums that have more hit records, of course. You can show me more charismatic MCs. You can even give me some better MCs. But if we're talking about a project from beginning to end, lyrics, beats, conception, execution, the best hip hop project a female has ever released.
You know what?
And it's going totally unnoticed and unheralded. And I'm not saying that because I'm from Charlotte. I'm saying that because, like, it's a travesty. And meanwhile, the game's 5th or 6th best album gets named album of the year. And Rhapsody, if nothing else, it's easily one of the best female rap albums ever made.
I agree with you.
Worst case scenario.
But it just lets you know what hip hop thinks of female rap. I mean, it's what it is. What I will do, and we normally don't do this, I'm going to put a poll up there with those two albums. Again, since we've been able to live with these albums a little bit, and I think Game had an advantage because he came out in December. I'm going to put them up now since it's March, April, whatever, of 2020. And if Rhapsody comes out on top, we'll change what was done before. We'll put her album as, you know what I'm saying, album of the year for 2019.
Like how about this? If Rhapsody looked like Megan Thee Stallion, she would have won album of the year in everybody's publication, including ours.
I think people would have found a way to say that she didn't write her rhymes. See, that's the catch-22 with women rappers, right? If you go out there with sex appeal, you don't write. And if you don't go out there with sex appeal and write, then you don't get attention.
I mean, if we want to nitpick cadence-wise, she was off about 2 or 3 times on the album, but that's neither here nor there. It's brilliant.
There's only one woman who had an opportunity to really be considered one of the great MCs ever, and she chose to sing on her record.
Mike, she didn't sing that much. All right? She didn't sing.
I'm saying that one album.
She made that one album. Album was out when we were in high school. We're closer to Social Security than that now. She closer than we are to it. She don't have no bars, man. Ain't nobody trying to hear that. No.
Lauren ain't got no bars? All right. Well, you know.
When's the last time Lauryn Hill wrote a rhyme, Mike? When's the last time you heard Lauryn Hill spit some? We talking about something like 96, 97, 98, 99? Oh, that's cute. That's cute.
I think the last...
I'm going to tell you like my daughter be telling me, oh, that's something from the 1900s, huh?
I think she got what was that? The inequity of the one that All Falls Down comes from. That verse.
Oh,
but that was like 2000.
That's 2001 Unplugged.
Or so the Unplugged.
Unplugged.
You know, I'm sure we both have our feelings on Lauryn.
She could have been the greatest MC of all time. Fuck that female shit. She could have been the greatest MC of all time. In 1996, she was a top 5 MC when Jay-Z was out, Nas was out, Tupac was alive, Biggie was alive, Redman was around, Andre was around, Scarface was alive. I mean, Scarface was in his prime, and she was top 5. And she didn't even have a solo project yet. So, like, she totally blew it. And she showed up late both times I came in.
Listen, man, I feel you. I think that the most disappointing thing about what happened in that Lauryn situation is the fact that there was a whole generation of female MCs that could have piggybacked off of the groundwork that she was putting in the 2000s. The 2000s would have sounded totally different if Lauren was around. I mean, it's what it is. But
it still hurts. I don't even know what to say. Like, I didn't even know it still hurt like the way that it do right now.
But yeah. So I think that, you know, she's the only woman that got that small window of consideration, kind of like Eminem for white rappers, right? So Eminem is like the white rapper that slipped through the cracks and gets the credibility.
Hold on. Right. But hold on. I mean, and she is skilled like that. And she's skilled like that. But she is fine too, Mike. That's what I'm saying. Like, Lauren's beautiful. Like, part of it. Like, if Rhapsody even looked like Lauren, yeah. Like, that's where the disrespect starts coming in, and this game really gets dirty towards the females.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and that's not to say Rhapsody is unattractive, but she's not going to consider to be a sex symbol like a Lauren Hill or
right.
or a Little Kim. No.
But Lauren was doing it in a different way than Kim. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like her sex appeal was more of, this is an intellectual here.
I'm gonna tell you,
so it was a respectful way, kind of like a Janelle Monáe. I think Janelle Monáe is the only, if that's the best way to compare how Lauren's sex appeal compared to the masses, right? Like, people look at Janelle and like, she's beautiful, but they respect her on a different level than they do the ones that they view as Megan Thee Stallion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, really, that just comes down to the organics of Lauren is just like more naturally fine without all the aesthetics.
Right.
But she's still fine, Mike. Like, so. So it's gonna play its part no matter what level that it plays. You know, it is. It's chauvinistic as hell. Like, it is. Bothers me. Yeah.
It's a very male-dominated game, and that's why I think that a lot of women rhymers just don't get that recognition. I mean, we've constantly been talking about Salt-N-Pepa being the best female rap group, but there's no number two.
Yeah, it's very problematic.
It's wide open, like.
But the chauvinism is what discourages the women from doing it. So maybe if the people that were in power or the people responsible for reporting it would stop being so goddamn chauvinistic, we could make some leeway with it, though. You know, that's my thing on, like, giving Rhapsody Album of the Year, like, in major publications is one of those things that might put the wind in a young woman's sails who wants to MC.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then we might get a Lauren Hill who actually raps, releases material, and shows up on time. I'm done. All right.
All right, man. Well, it was. Man, I don't even know where to go from here, man. Great review.
Appreciate you, Mike.
You think?
I appreciate everybody and According to Hip Hop and all the fans and all the followers, the build out. So appreciative. Thank y'all. All
right, so before we go, though, your prediction is Kendrick Lamar Album of the Year 2020.
I mean, when is the last time? I mean, when's the last time he released an album that wasn't the Album of the Year? The Defense Rest.
Yeah, Section 80 is arguable because, you know, I guess
what came out the year Section 80 came out? And I told you I still think Section 80 is a mixtape, but that's...
Yeah. I want to say that was...
That's 2011? Is that...
2011. So Watch the Throne was out then, I believe. Yeah, Watch the Throne, Take Care. I still think he got that one, honestly.
Take Care. I mean, if you want to say Take Care is better than Section 80, like, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not the biggest Drake fan, but I respect what dude does, and I really like him, and I enjoy a lot of his music.
He coming out this year, too, right? You think he coming out this year? It's his time.
I mean...
Pusha T coming out this year, too, possibly.
I mean, that's how I feel about Pusha. Pusha's my personal favorite of, like, this crop of guys, and that includes Kendrick, but that's just because I'm old-fashioned. I like in the room. You know,
hypothetically, and I should put these two albums against each other. Damn or Daytona?
I'm taking Daytona, but that's only because I think Daytona has more staying power than Damn. Damn is inherently more brilliant, though. But Daytona's more enjoyable over the long haul.
Okay. Like, I'll put those two albums against each other, too.
I was playing What Would Meek Do the other day. It makes me feel like a villain every time I listen to that record. It's great.